Well, hey there. I don't know what Marco's doing back there. If you can see him just kind of sitting at the closed door. What are you doing, buddy? I do think that I have a ghost. I think it's possible. So today's video is about the ways in which we beat ourselves up, why we beat ourselves up, and why it doesn't work. Which I am not saying because I think that that's going to be surprising to you. That's the thing is I think that we all know intellectually, logically, when we sit down and we're not in like a super emotional place, we know that beating ourselves up for something that we've done or haven't done doesn't actually get us anywhere. I used to do it for years. I still do it sometimes, thinking that that was exactly what I needed to do to keep myself on track. Basically, beating myself up was kind of cracking the whip to keep me in line. Much like when someone cracks a whip, when we see in the movies with them cracking the whips over the, slaves rowing boats. I don't know where this analogy is going. But essentially, the idea is that you are motivating somebody by fear, and you're motivating somebody by pain, and you're motivating somebody to keep doing something to avoid something happening. Row faster means I won't whip you again. And so get all those things done on your to-do list, or exercise before work, or eat a salad for lunch, and I won't, be tough on you at the end of the day, and I won't beat you up for not doing all of those things. Say, for example, we had a to-do list of things. I'm pulling from my own life here. We have a to-do list of things that you're trying to get done in a day, and say there's 7 of them on the list. You get to the end of the day, or the end of your mental and emotional energy, and you've gotten like 3.5 of them done. To stick with this personal example, it's very easy for me to focus on the other 3.5 things I didn't get done, and to beat myself up about it and say, some of the things I would say are, how committed are you to what your goals are? Why couldn't you get your shit together and get everything done? You need to have a total overhaul of what you're doing. You need to start doing this, and this. Oh, and by the way, you need to lose weight. I'll go into that diatribe. This is very familiar for me. If I got $1 for every time someone told me to not beat myself up so much, I'd have a lot of dollars. Maybe not enough to retire, but I'd have a lot of dollars. Like, I could probably take a trip. Probably I'd take a bus, but a trip. And so this is something that I am very familiar with. And I try to think about it now that I have more awareness about what it is. And I try to pay attention to what's going on in this situation? What's really going on in this situation? When you beat yourself up, there is a duality, which means that there's two. There's the one who's doing the beating up and the one who's getting beaten up on. That duality can also exist in a positive way. Affirmations, any sort of self-love, there is a certain duality. There's a certain giver giving, The funny thing is, the duality doesn't actually exist. It, in reality, is the same person. You are beating yourself up. You are literally beating yourself up. But in that situation, it's a dialogue. I try to remember that or use that model because I would never talk to somebody else the way I talk to myself. He just has got to get in there. He's got to get in that bathroom. I don't know. His litter box is in there. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe this is a bathroom thing. Maybe I should take care of this. Hold on. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Yeah? All right, well, get to it. This cat runs my life. As I said, I would never talk to somebody the way that I talk to myself sometimes. And so I can use that to my advantage. Ooh, it's not a ghost, it's the cat. Because what I'm able to do is tap into, how would you talk to a child who's just done what you've done? Or how would you just talk to any other person? How would you talk to a client? How would you handle somebody else having done what you just did, or having not done what you just didn't do? I can always get out of that place of beating myself up when I move into that kind of external compassion. I mean, that sort of compassion that I can give. With that, I can recognize that compassion that I can give other people, I can give myself. And I just have to give myself permission for that. And I think within that is some forgiveness. You have to kind of quickly forgive yourself. So you do something, you didn't do something with this list, I didn't get 3.5 things done. I can immediately say, you know what, you didn't get 3.5 of those things done. It's totally okay, I forgive you and I love you anyway. It's fine. Look at the things you got done. That's great. That's awesome. That's amazing. You can finish this. So how do you want to handle this tomorrow? What do you want to start with tomorrow? being productive, being positive. And if you stick with that dialogue, that then becomes your reality. That becomes what you listen to. That becomes the messaging. So that's one thing, is learning how to tap into how you would talk to somebody else, learning how to tap into your compassion about this issue. The second one is, of course, always going back to really one of my major spiritual mentors, Matt Kahn. Something that he has mentioned more than once is you need more love, not less. When you are hurting, when you are having trouble getting your to-do list done, when you're feeling stuck, when you're procrastinating, when you're in resistance, when you're in fear, when you've done something that you feel incredibly embarrassed about or ashamed of or afraid of, or anything where you're having that really strong reaction, and it would be easy to discipline yourself and tell yourself to pull it together or get focused or, figure it out, or some sort of reprimand for what you did or didn't do. That situation, that moment, you need more love, not less. You need to be given more compassion, not less. You do not need to be punished, least of all by yourself. You're the one deciding if you need to be punished, and you're the one doling out the punishment. You have absolute control over this situation. And what happens if you don't, right? What happens if you don't beat yourself up? What happens if you don't discipline yourself? There's that slippery slope fear that, well, if I don't stay on top of this and stay on top of myself about this, I'm just going to completely lose control. And what I can say is that this is something that you have to try before you know yourself. I can talk about it and I can tell you my own experiences about it, but at the end of the day, you need to feel this for yourself. You need to see what happens when you try this yourself. I think what's really interesting is that when we start to do this work of changing the way we regard ourselves, especially when we've done something that we feel ashamed of, is what else comes up for us. Because there's always underneath all of this the why. Why do we beat ourselves up? Why do we regard ourselves this way? Why do we think we deserve this kind of treatment? And that's a question you have to answer for yourself. Why do you think that you deserve this? Why is this okay? If somebody else were to treat you this way, would you allow it? Would you accept it? If somebody else talked to you the way that you talk to yourself, how would you respond? And that's really at the root of all of this, is what is the why? And so using some of these tools to help break some of the habits and patterns of beating ourselves up, that lets us then do the work of asking ourselves why we do it in the first place. And it's a process to stay open and to stay curious about, and to recognize that there could be a lot of triggers to beat yourself up through this process. When you start to ask yourself why, you may come up with reasons that you feel ashamed of. And so you're going to be given an opportunity to practice giving yourself more love, and practice showing yourself compassion, and practice regarding yourself the way you would regard somebody else about this issue. You will be constantly given opportunities to practice and hone this skill. So take advantage of that. I think it could be very easy to find that daunting, like, oh my God, every time I try to deal with this, I'm just going to keep beating myself up. That's actually a lucky opportunity. You're constantly given opportunities to change it. As usual, I hope that's helpful for you. I hope that gives you some perspective and some tools and some direction for when and if you're ready to use them. Feel free to leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, all that fun stuff that YouTubers want you to do. I'd love you to do the same. And have a great day. All right, bye.